Hello, Liberty Ninja. See if I can get this lighting right. I think that's okay. Hello, how are you all? Lots of craziness happening. We'll get into it. Eva is around. She is sleeping right now. She wanted to go outside, but right in front of the house that I'm in, there's a bunch of giant geese. So I don't know if that's bad for Eva. I don't know if that's bad for the geese, but I just figured it wasn't a great idea to let her outside right now. So she's sleeping on the floor right next to me because she usually goes outside for several hours throughout the day, but I wasn't sure how she would react to the geese. And these geese have been right outside for a few hours now. So there's that. Yeah, that was a good idea. Probably bad for both. I presume. I don't think she's ever seen a geese before. Funny story, when I was little, I don't remember if it was a swan or a geese, but I was about 3 years old and I was at a park with my mom and my grandmother and several other of our I made it in time for once. Well, I was about 3, I wanna say I was 3 years old, and I was at a park with my mom, my grandma, several other of our family members, and, there was a family of geese. There were little babies and the mama, and I picked up one of the little babies, and the mama chased me and bit me. It scared the crap out of me. I started crying uncontrollably. There's a picture of this too. There's a picture of me being chased by I can't remember again if it was a swan or a geese, but I learned my lesson. Don't touch the babies. Oh man. Hello? I'll get started in just a minute. Someone said, "Hello, today is a great day." Oh, hold on, wait, I can show it. To for watching. Hi, Alpha Omega. Watching the libs head explode. Yeah, so we'll get into all of that and what this actually means because I think a lot of people are very confused as to what overturning versus Wade actually is. So we'll talk about that and what happened and everything. I've been on for 3 minutes. All right, we can go ahead and get started. So, first of all, let's look at the nuts and bolts of what actually happened last night. I think it was a surprise and shock to everyone. Uh, and we'll talk about the nuts and bolts of it and then go into what I think is going to happen and what it actually means. Hello, Nightmare. So this is what had happened was late on Monday evening, May 2nd, Politico. Good morning, Morris. Politico broke a world shattering story. It posted an exclusive leak of a purported majority opinion in Dobbs versus Mississippi. That was a 2022 case. The case considering whether or not Roe versus Wade, which created out of the whole cloth a right to abortion, ought to be overruled. The majority opinion was written by Justice Samuel Alito. It rejected in totality both Roe and the entire chain of cases following therefrom, including Planned Parenthood versus Casey. The draft decision states so, this is a part of what's in the actual draft. And keep in mind, this is a draft. So, this isn't finalized, it is a draft. But we do know that the Supreme Court has stated now publicly that this is legitimate, but it's a draft. It says it is time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives. This is what the Constitution and the rule of law demand. The draft opinion, which was almost certainly authentic, but now we know it is authentic, it reads like Justice Alito and utterly dismantles the legal non reasoning of Roe and Casey and would amount to a reversion of all abortion law to the state level where it originally resided. As the decision concludes, abortion presents a profound moral question. The Constitution does not prohibit the citizens of each state from regulating or prohibiting abortion. Roe and Casey arrogated that authority. We now overrule those decisions and return that authority to the people and their elected representatives. Now, that is what the document said. What is very disconcerting about all of this is that this information was leaked. It is clearly leaked by an insider. They're assuming it might be a clerk, possibly a liberal clerk that is working within the Supreme Court. And now the FBI is investigating this, which should make all of us feel really confident they'll get to the truth of this matter. But we do have a statement from the Chief Justice Roberts. He says, to the extent of this betrayal of the confidence of the court was intended to undermine the integrity of our operations, it will not succeed. The work of the court will not be affected in any way. Roberts also said, we at the court are blessed to have a workforce, permanent employees, and law clerks alike. Um, Curtis, wow, thank you so much. Yay, I got a notice this time. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that super chat. I'm glad you were able to make it. Thank you again. Um, so he says, we at the court, I'm going to reread that. We at the court are blessed and to have a workforce, permanent employees, and law clerks alike intensely loyal to the institution and dedicated to the rule of law. Court employees have an exemplary and important tradition of respecting the confidentiality of the judicial process and upholding the trust of the court. This was a singular and egregious breach of the trust that is affront to the court and to the community of public servants who work here. I have directed the marshal of the court to launch an investigation into the source of the leak. So loyal. Yeah. Well, I do believe that most of them are loyal, but it takes one person. And what's really interesting is the left is going to look at this one person like a heroic whistleblower, but really they just undermined the trust of the court. And so there's that. Now, a lot of people, especially a lot of leftists, are very confused as to what Roe versus Wade actually is and what will actually happen if Roe versus Wade is overturned. Now, keep in mind, a lot of the justices that Donald Trump appointed, a lot of them, he really liked constitutionalists. So they are very pro Constitution. They stick to the Constitution. And as was stated in that draft, they want to go back to the Constitution. So what Roe versus Wade will do, the only thing that will happen if it's overturned is it kicks back the legality of abortion back to the states. That is it. So you're going to hear a lot of dishonest politicians and a lot of dishonest media say that this is the end of democracy. This is so anti-democracy. Actually, it's very pro-democracy because Supreme Court justices, anyone in the Supreme Court was not elected by the public. They weren't elected by the people. But when you push it back to the states, you're basically pushing it back to the people to elect politicians that they agree with. And do I think that some states will deem abortion illegal? Maybe, probably, but honestly, I it's pro republic. Yeah, it's pro republic, it's pro democracy, and there is no constitutional right for anyone to have an abortion. I'm not going to make the moral argument whether you should be pro choice or pro life. That's not the intention of this live stream. The intention is just to talk about really the nuts and bolts of what's happening because people get so emotional, and these politicians, they understand that a lot of people will be emotional pawns for them and they don't actually know the truth of the matter. This is not ending abortion. This is not making abortion illegal. It puts it back, kicks it back to the and kicks it back to the people. Now, certain states have already been regulating abortion. For instance, you have Florida, which banned abortion after 15 weeks, which is actually what I see a lot of states doing. I think there will be more regulation. I don't see anyone right away banning it. But even if that does happen, you are going to have states, for instance, California, that are basically going to be abortion havens. So that's going to happen. Hi, Smitty. How are you? Someone said, I seen a video of a woman screaming about not being a church mouse and someone taking her rights. I did see that as well. And this is how emotional people get. And if I have one message that I really want people to hear above anything else, it's stop allowing yourself to be an emotional political pawn for politicians that really do not care about women's rights. They only care about winning. Let's go, Brandon. Smitty said, I have no say in the matter. Smitty, is that because you're a man? Because apparently now men can get pregnant. So technically, you do have a say in the matter. But I want to show you. So you already have leftist organizations saying that half the states are going to ban abortion. I do not think that's true. And here's where the media will be manipulative again, because even with pro-choice people, most people, I would say, I think this is an actual number. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I would even guess that it's somewhere around this. 70% of people in general, even pro choicers, do not think that abortion should be legal after the first trimester. And that's what you see certain states doing. So you have Florida that banned it after about 15 weeks. You have Texas that did about 10 weeks. But even conservatives, birthing person, Smitty says, I've been pregnant for 10 years. Wow. um, but here you have Joe Biden, and he's just weighing in on this. He says, if the decision holds, it's really quite a radical decision. It is not a radical decision to put the power back into the states. It is not a radical decision to put the power back into voters. Um, it really is quite a radical decision. I've not had a chance to thoroughly go through the report. Does this mean that in Florida they can decide they're going to pass a law saying that same sex marriage is not permissible? So, again, you're going to see this a lot from Democratic politicians and people on the left where they're saying, what does this mean? Are they now going to outlaw gay marriage, this and that? Well, I'm going to read you something that is actually in the draft, and this was actually tweeted out and highlighted by Megan Kelly. I really like Megan Kelly. I think she's very honest. So she tweeted out a portion of the actual draft that was leaked, and this is what it says. And she says, Megan Kelly says, for those predicting gay marriage will now fall along with all privacy cases. Court says in draft, no. So the draft says, no, we are not doing that. The draft says, we emphasize that our decision concerns the right to abortion and no other right. Not in this not in this opinion should be understood cast doubt on precedents that do not concern abortion. So it specifically states this only has to do with abortion and nothing else. We're not touching that. But again, you are going to have, oh, this is funny. Okay, here's how a flippity floppity and back and forth politicians will be. So this was Biden. When was this? Flashback. Oh, I don't know when this was. I do know that in 1981, Joe Biden talked about overturning Roe versus Wade and how he was for overturning Roe versus Wade to kick that back to the states. And here's another flashback of him. Biden says, I do not view abortion as a choice and a right. I think it's always a tragedy. And I think that it should be rare and safe. And I think that we should be focusing on how to limit the numbers of abortions. In a minute, too, I'm going to get back to the actual case of Roe versus Wade because I learned some very, very interesting things about the actual case that I don't think most people are aware of. And I don't think most of these lefties crying abortion in the street are aware of this either. And it's very, very interesting. All right. So I showed you Joe Biden. Liberals need to go back and read Roe limits on abortion. By trimester was always contemplated. Abortion restrictions were contemplated once viability, I think you was achieved. Is I think so you have okay. So here is Senator Elizabeth Warren having a moment. Hopefully you can hear it. Let me know if it's too loud. Actually, no, I'll just show it to you. It's on my phone right here.
I am angry. Angry and upset? Angry and upset and determined. The United States Congress can keep Roe versus Wade the law of the land. Just need to do it. I've never seen you so angry. You seem to be. This is what the Republicans have been working toward this day for decades. They have been out there plotting, carefully cultivating these Supreme Court justices so they could have a majority on the bench who would accomplish something that the majority of Americans do not want. 69% of people across this country, red states and blue states, old people and young people, want Roe versus Wade to maintain as the law of the land. We need to do that. And we have a right. Extremists, we've heard enough from the extremists. And we're tired of it. Senator, does this open the door for other constitutional rights?
And again, I think that I actually do think that many people do support Roe versus Wade, but I think it's because they don't understand what Roe versus Wade actually means. And the cool thing, I was watching Dave Rubin earlier today give his opinion on the whole matter, and he made this point, which I think is really cool. He said, America is this really cool experiment. And one of the cool things about America is states can sort of have their own power and make their own things. And a lot of power goes on a state level and is not as centralized as, being the rule of law on a federal level. Of course, we have some things that are, but states have the opportunity to do their own things. And then you have the opportunity to say, my values are more in line with Florida, where they have no income tax, or my values are more in line with California, where they have the highest income tax, the state income tax. So you have those options. But in other countries, for instance, Canada, you don't have those options. They need to plan for, yeah, bring on the riots. Here's Joy Behar. So somebody tweeted out, following the clips of Democrats crying Handmaid's Tale and blaming Ted Cruz, Joy Behar calls the possible ruling devastating and asserts the conservative justices lied under oath about overturning Roe versus Wade. And she scoffs at ACB Amy Coney Barrett's scholarly argument because she doesn't understand the words. Behar then claims the conservative justices will go after Brown versus Board of Education to take the right to vote. I see fascism down the line here. Okay, first of all, the ruling came about because of something that was presented to SCOTUS recently, and that's why they decided to rule. And what Amy Coney Barrett said in her hearings and her confirmation hearings was she said, I don't think that Roe versus Wade will be an issue because, in my opinion, it's one of those rulings that most people don't want to overturn. Well, then it came up that individuals did, in fact, want to overturn it, and there was a case presented to SCOTUS. Therefore, they ruled on what was presented to them. You can't predict that. She could only give her opinion. And remember, yes, there are some conservative justices, but they are also constitutionalists. And what Alito said in the draft is we want to return to the Constitution and give back the power of states to decide for themselves. That's it. In my opinion, that is pro-democracy. Okay, now this is very interesting. Now let's look at the reality of Roe versus Wade. This is very, very interesting. And this actually comes from the Atlantic. So this was an article written back in September of 2021, and they found the Roe baby. So what a lot of people don't know about Roe versus Wade, her name wasn't Roe, her name was, or it wasn't Roe. She was Jane Roe, I think, and her name was Norma McCovery. And she was a 21-year-old girl that had had three pregnancies at the time. And there was an attorney that was looking to represent a woman that wanted to obtain an abortion and couldn't. So they found her and basically used her story. And here's the thing about her. First of all, she never thought that abortion should be legal past the third trimester. And the baby in question, she actually did not abort. So this woman never had a single abortion. And later on in her life, she went to become a born again Christian and she ended up being a pro life activist. Well, all these years later, they found the Roe baby, the baby that the mom was considering getting an abortion. And her name, I believe, is Shelly. Let me find it. Yeah, her name was Shelly. And Shelly talked to the magazine and said that she had had an issue with this her whole life because she knows that her mom contemplated an abortion. By the way, Norma McClovery ended up giving up Shelly for adoption. So she never aborted her, she gave her up for adoption. I believe the other two kids were given up for adoption as well. Um, Shelly struggled with this her whole life because she knew who she was. And when Shelly was 20, she was about to get married to a man and became pregnant. Well, she didn't want the baby at first. She wasn't prepared to have a baby. It was an accident that she got pregnant. And she actually contemplated for a few minutes an abortion. But then she remembered the pain of her life growing up knowing that her mom considered aborting her. So she decided not to get an abortion. And she, in fact, kept the baby. And she said, I want nothing to do with abortion. So that's the story about the women behind Roe versus Wade that you're not going to be told. There's another opinion on this matter. Let me find it for you. Here's another opinion on this matter. And this is an opinion I haven't been able to like really fact check everything that he said, but for the specifics of what he is saying, this is Greg Price. But from the Atlantic article, what I read, a lot of what he says it does corroborate. So the facts of this might not be, I just haven't fact checked them myself, but this is somebody that I follow and I trust. But he says the woman behind Roe versus Wade, Norma McCovery, was a severely depressed drug addict on her third pregnancy by 21. She was taken advantage of by lawyers, paid $500,000 to say what they wanted, lied about being R worded. I did not know that, and never even attended a single hearing on the case. Norma McCovery later became a born again Christian and a pro life activist because she realized how much she had been used by the evil forces in America. There have never been a bigger exploiter of women than the American abortion industry. It began that way and still is today. Remember, this is his opinion. I'm just reading it to you. Norma McCovery also never even had an abortion. She was a lonely and depressed person, and that abortion industry took advantage of it to make a constitutional right. How many people who say this hurts women even know this story? And I'm just bringing that, granted, that's his opinion. I haven't really like looked into all of that myself, but I think it's a very interesting opinion. And it just goes to show that so many people that say this is against women, this is against women, they don't understand the whole story and they don't understand that a lot of people that um, there are a lot of politicians that will take advantage of your emotions and you turn into an emotional political pawn to them. It's the same with Planned Parenthood. A lot of people don't understand the origins of Planned Parenthood. They don't even know who Margaret Sanger was. Sanger was a woman and she was a known fan of eugenics. So, eugenics was practiced in the United States of America up until the 70s. I actually have a bit of personal experience with this. I worked at a place, I've told you about my history before, but Virginia, and I believe the University of Virginia was kind of like a hub of eugenics at the time. So I worked for a state run acute care psychiatric hospital for children and adolescents. It was called, and it's still there today, it's called the Commonwealth Center for Children and Adolescents. That wasn't always the name of it. The name used to be the Desjarnett Center, and it was run by Dr. Desjarnett, who was a fan of eugenics. And the kids that came in, he would sterilize them without their consent. So all the kids that came into the hospital, he would sterilize them. And it's even been reported that Hitler sort of got his playbook by what was happening in the U.S. And Margaret Sanger was a part of that group, and she has been known saying some pretty awful things about a certain race. And a lot of people don't understand that history of it and where it started. And it all of a sudden became a human's rights issue, a women's rights issue. And what are you guys talking about? Our economy is collapsing, and we have a senile president, and Democrats are screaming about something that hasn't even happened. Exactly. That's a really good point. Um, this isn't even the official ruling. This is just a draft. So we have no idea. Yes, so read TNN's comment because she did say that. And it was actually Dr. Desjarnett who said, I don't know if anyone is a fan of Dinesh D'Souza, but he has a lot of really great documentaries, and he wrote a book. I don't remember the name of this one. Oh, hold on. I wonder if I can find it. But, he Dinesh doesn't even realize that he quoted Dr. Desjarnett in his book, and Dr. Desjarnett is quoted as saying, "Hitler is beating us at our own game." So there's a history, a very dark history behind a lot of this stuff that people do not understand. And if you really want to go to a conspiratorial rabbit hole, this is pure conspiracy, okay? Sometimes I've really been looking into this puberty blockers thing, how all these people want kids to have puberty blockers. Well, a lot of these things will make kids, so they'll give puberty blockers, let's say, to a little girl or a teenage girl. It'll make her infertile, and a lot of people don't talk about that. And yes, this is conspiracy theory area. This is not fact. This is just my little mind that wanders off into the dark corners of humanity. And I think about that sometimes. I think about Dr. Desjarnett, and I knew that history very well because I worked at the Commonwealth Center. I think about Dr. Desjarnett and what he did to kids. And then I think about this push for puberty blockers among young kids, and the fact that it will result in a lot of these kids to never be able to have children of their own and cause them to be infertile. There's one drug, it's called Luber something. I can't remember the name of the drug, but it's actually the same drug that they use to chemically castrate uh, pedophiles. Yeah, Margaret Sanger said some very, very awful things. Read in the comments, very awful things about a certain race of people. I do believe that Planned Parenthood has separated themselves from her recently. Yeah, finding Sanger's quote on Google is harder now in 2022 than it was in 2016. That's very true because people started talking about it. And what really gets me too about the pro-choice argument is they always use, you're against women's rights, you're against women's rights. Well, pro-lifers are pro babies' rights. They're not against anyone's rights. They're pro baby rights. And I see the arguments on both sides, and they don't get it. They think that Google is not your friend. PolitiFact said the attacks on Singer were false. Libs of TikTok is going to be lit today. And another reason I like to talk about this thing is because, I mean, it's clearly this was somebody that leaked this information to intimidate the justices. And it just blows my mind how easily people will allow themselves to become emotional political pawns without stepping back and thinking. Crowder already posted a bunch of well, here, I'll go on Libs of TikTok. Let's see what we can find. And also, Tim Pool made a really good point today. He was like, uh, how many abortions are these women getting that you are so this is just upsetting you to the core. How many abortions are you getting? And I'll be honest with you, I could be wrong, but I don't see anyone outright, maybe Utah, I don't know. I don't see any state outright banning. If this goes through, if this is the Supreme Court decision or the Supreme Court ruling, 50% of women oppose abortion. So there's that. I think a lot of women actually do oppose abortion. And like I said, even more people don't think you should have it past the first trimester. Here we go. Let's listen to some meltdowns.
I'm so fucking tired of seeing this. You know what? I fucking hope so. I hope so. I sure hope so. I don't know. I hope so.
Does anyone watch the Liberal Hive Mind? The Liberal Hive Mind. I do. That's a really good channel. That channel has a really cool way of putting a bunch of stories together and making a point. My home state of Oklahoma almost had a complete ban on abortion. Oh, what audio is that? I don't this is from Libs of TikTok. I'm actually trying to figure out what it is. It says this is what pro-abortionists think of aborted babies. These are some of the people furious at the thought of Roe versus Wade being overturned.
Oh, no.
I don't understand.
Aborted babies being burned in the
Oh.
aborted babies being burned in the I hope they are. Jesus, I am so fucking tired of seeing this. You know what? I hope so. I hope so. I sure hope so. I don't know. I hope so. Oh God, I hope so. I can just imagine the fucking snowflakes with that one. Oh no. I just eat mine straight from the can. I don't think we should be asking, are they being burned and used for electricity? I think we should be asking, why aren't they being burned and used for electricity? Reverse, go and burn them. Ooh, sustainable energy. I love the advocacy. We should try it if we have it. Portable charger. Give me your feet. Aborted babies being
This is what this is what like the Matrix, WTF, eat what from I don't know. This is what extreme tribalism does to you. You lose all morality because all you want to do is throw it in the face of the opposite person and you just sound like an evil, soulless monster. Exactly, Curtis. Okay, well okay, this is from Libs of TikTok again. This is a mashup, you guys. Mashup of pro-abortionists losing their minds over the thought of not being able to kill babies.
be insane.
She seems nice.
Fuck. This abortion law goes beyond a woman's issue and it goes beyond anything you can ever imagine. The societal implications of this are going to be insane. The amount of just pain and damage this is going to cause, and the full ability to tell a woman what she can and can't do with her body. And we're going back into a Handmaid's Tale society here. All of you women who sat home, all you young girls, adults over 18 years old who did not go out and vote, who did not think that you need to protect your womb, we're now back in the dark ages. Brace yourselves, ladies. I'm with you. My heart is just broken. I don't understand why this country hates women so much. I just don't understand it. We'll get through this. We'll figure out a way. No more joking about it being a Handmaid's Tale. It will be.
Again, they have no idea what Roe versus Wade is. Oh my gosh, we're going back to the Handmaid's Tale. Oh my gosh, it's power going back to the people and power going back to the states. Oh my gosh, we actually can have elected officials run on these things and we can vote for them. It is self inflicted stress. But this is what, this person that leaked this information, these politicians, they know that people are going to react this way. That's why they do it. And I don't know if it's like, I just need drama in my life. Look at me, look at me. Everything has to be a big deal because I'm bored and all I do is play on my phone and I have no meaning in my life. I don't hate women, I love women, just not those women. I think most women are great and most women are sane. But this is these people. Oh no, here's another one. I don't know if I even want to look at it. And it also went from the liberal standpoint on abortion being safe, legal, and rare to yay abortion. Now your baby can be born and you'll keep it comfortable and then make the decision later. It has gone completely bananas. Oh, and here it is. I love this too, by the way. I love that. This is so disgusting. Amy Schumer calls followers to take to the streets over leak, says that's why she got arrested to stop frat F's confirmation. Oh, she was the one. Amy Schumer so heroically got arrested on um, Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation. But this is what's funny when oh gosh, my foot's asleep. Oh, this is what's so funny about um, they're going to use the old white man thing. Well, actually, I believe that ruling was 7 white men, and now you actually have a more diverse Supreme Court who voted to possibly overturn Roe versus Wade. And again, they don't know what would actually what dude would. Oh, I try not to get petty, but sometimes it's very hard. Amy Schumer called on followers to take to the streets over the leaked draft. The 40-year-old comedian joined a growing choir of celebrity abortion advocates freaking out about a possible change to the law, and she sent a message to Senator Susan Collins about choosing her career over women being tested as humans. In a post she made on Instagram Tuesday, the message says, Oh, the message. She also slammed United States Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh as the reason she got arrested. So brave. When she tried to stop him from being confirmed in 2018. Amy says, so much bravery. She says, hope you have a great day, Susan Collins for Senate. Remember when you chose your career over women being tested as humans and all other a-holes who caused this? This is why I got arrested to oppose that frat F's confirmation. Give us our dignity or we will take it. I think Amy Schumer lost her dignity on her own a long time ago. Every time she gets on stage, and excuse my language, but every time she gets on stage and jokes about her really disgusting vagina, I'm so sorry I even had to say that to you, but when she started joking about how she sleeps around and how gross her female anatomy is, I think she might have lost her dignity then. I'm just saying. Just saying. This is why we fight. See you out there, ladies. Fully square at 5. Oh, I can't wait. Do people watch that woman's movies? No. Sorry, I don't like saying though. I get uncomfortable. She has a what? Ben Shapiro, lady boys. Ben Shapiro responded by saying, "This is the best acting before the camera she's done in years." Sarah, senators Manchin and Sinema are still defending the filibuster despite Schumer wanting to end it to make abortion legal with 50 votes. I can't stand Amy Schumer or her uncle Chuck. Yeah, I don't know if you guys know, but Chuck Schumer is Amy Schumer's uncle. Ugh. Julie Hamil, I don't know who she is, but she makes a good point. She says, it's freaking me out that even renowned legal scholars and high ranking politicians are pretending the purported draft SCOTUS opinion bans abortion in the US. Even if it's real, that's not what it says. It's literally not what it says. My opinion of Amy Schumer having a career, because I lived in LA, I knew a lot of female comedians. There is a lot of talent out there. And when you look at someone like Amy Schumer who got propped up the way that she did, to me it was never popularity among people. To me that was the industry saying, "Look, we have a funny lady." And they just kind of pushed her down our throats when nobody asked for it. That's my opinion of Amy Schumer's career and why it blew up to the extent that it is. She is not, I look at her comedy now, it's not funny at all. It's just actually grotesque. And even as a woman seeing her talk about that, I'm like, I no. Um, it's grotesque. Her acting is not good. The movies are not good. She had one movie that I kind of liked, and it was her very first one. I thought it was cute, Trainwreck. I thought that had some good and funny moments, but everything after that was completely just flat to the extent that I'm like, is this a parody of a comedy? Like, is this a parody of a movie that we're supposed to think is good? It's like the don't say gay bill. They just add context that's not there to incite people. Exactly. And people allow it to happen and they get upset and they take to the streets and they don't even know what they're protesting or what they're against. And Joe Bob says he actually has a really cool show on the Daily Caller. He said Roe versus Wade is a bad case law, regardless of what you think about abortion. Yeah, that's why I've kept specifically in this I've kept my view, my moral view on abortion out of it because I think you have to look at it in an objective way, in a constitutional way, in a states' rights way, and the fact that this was a bad law and how nefarious it was from the very beginning. What about the woman at the center of the case? Yeah, we were actually talking about her earlier. The interesting thing about her is that she never even actually had an abortion. She decided not to get an abortion. And the Roe baby is actually alive and well, and her name is Shelly. And she struggles with the fact that her mom considered getting an abortion. I think it was pointed out earlier that this was a woman that was young and made a lot of bad decisions and who was depressed and had a lot of issues that was taken advantage of. And she was actually paid money to say things. And she never aborted a single baby. And later on in her life, she became a born again Christian and was actually a pro life activist. And that baby that the whole court was about, was the whole case was about, never got aborted. And the interesting thing was that baby, the Roe baby, and this was a huge spread in the Atlantic, which we know is a super left leaning publication. Um, they found her. Her name is Shelly. That was the Roe baby when she was an adult. And she did say she struggled with it for quite some time, knowing that her mom contemplated an abortion. She also said that she got pregnant very early in her life when she was 20, right before she was about to get married. And she wasn't ready to have a baby. She wasn't prepared. It was an accident. And she contemplated for a moment getting an abortion. And then she thought, no, I can't do this. I do not want anything to do with abortion, and so she decided to have the baby. Speaking of Chuck Schumer,
Senate Republican. Make no mistake, the blame for this decision falls squarely on Republican senators and the Senate Republicans as a whole, who spent years pushing extremist judges, spent years confirming three far-right justices to the Supreme Court, but who claimed somehow this day would never come. But this day has come, and we will fight it all the way. I yield the floor.
and what one thing to understand about conservatives or Republican is it's no secret that the majority of conservatives and Republicans have been pro-life from the beginning. So this isn't this like new far right thing. This has always been the case with conservatives and Republicans. If anything, I think most conservatives and Republicans have gotten a lot more liberal when it comes to abortion and have compromised a lot more when it comes to abortion, as opposed to the far left, which has gone farther and farther and farther off the deep end when it comes to this issue. Exactly. And I think if anything, like I just said, I think Republicans and conservatives have really compromised when it comes to that issue. And someone brought up, I think it's interesting that this is happening when Ohio today has primaries. Well, yeah, think about it. We have been talking about this for the past week, looking at poll numbers, looking at opinion pieces from CNN, MSNBC. This administration right now is an absolute disaster. This is basically the only thing that they could muster up that would cause this type of reaction among their emotional political pawns, if you will, which is what I call them. So it's kind of genius in a way. This is the one thing they could have mustered up to pump up their base because they are losing on every single thing you can think of. So the timing is interesting as well. I believe they were trying to destroy the country. It's like, I don't even know if they're, I just think they are so desperate to keep their power that they are willing to do anything and everything, even if it does destroy the country. Schumer doesn't even believe in due process. Right. He's trying to kill the filibuster. Anyone watching Biden over the past 40 years uh, could predict the disaster unfolding in real time. Wasn't it even Obama himself that said, don't he did. Obama said, don't underestimate Joe Biden's ability to F things up. Oh, if I ever agreed with anything that Obama said, it would be that one. And, you know, at best, I was thinking that Biden would just be like a regular establishment, do nothing Democrat, but it was worse. Leaks are why Elon Musk should fire everyone at Twitter, like Hannity suggested. Well, I do know that the CEO, well, who would want to endorse Joe Biden? I do know that the CEO, or that the current CEO at Twitter is being fired, but that guy gets, I think, like 42 million dollars. It's a nice severage package. Glenn said that Biden could have just done nothing and have been more successful, had a more successful couple years in office. That's true. He literally could have done nothing. Senator Ted Cruz, the decision of an immoral and unethical individual to leak confidential documents from the Supreme Court is the predictable consequence of a multi year effort by the Senate Democrats to undermine and politicize the court. It is impossible to overstate the gravity of this violation. Poor Parag. He only gets $42 million when laid off his job. Sob. I know, and there was, we read it yesterday on the live stream. He he looked tired in the meeting and stressed out and has so many regrets. I think he's gonna be just fine. Shadow puppeteers in the background. Oh yes, it's like, it'll be interesting to hopefully we find out more about where this leak came from. Hopefully they actually do an investigation. Um, but it's almost like, it's like, okay, it's time. Release the leak. Let's let our spawns, let our little pawns go out in the streets just like we told them to. And these like evil people are in the back holding the strings to the puppet. They're like, ha 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 ha, we did it. They won't research anything. They're too emotional. Roberts is conducting an investigation. Good. Chief Justice Roberts ordered the court martial to investigate the leak. I will be really interesting. It will be very interesting to see what happens there. All right, you all. Well, that was a fun stream. Thank you for joining. I had a really good time. I will be back. Oh, hi, Marcia. How much taxpayer funding goes into Planned Parenthood to provide abortions. Follow the money. It's not about right. That's a really great point. I've said that all along too. Um, I am anti Planned Parenthood. I do not like Planned Parenthood. I don't think they should be taxpayer funded at all. I know that they donate a lot to the Democratic Party as well. I don't like that organization. And I think Marcia has a very good point to follow the money on that situation as well. Usually there's more going on that meets the eye. I think they're a terrible organization. And what a lot of Democrats will do is if you are anti, Planned Parenthood, they'll say, well, where are the poor women supposed to? What about low income people? There, by the way, you guys, there are a lot of women's clinics, a lot that are not Planned Parenthood that will give free services. And I'm not talking about abortions, but any service that a woman needs because women have unique needs. They will give free services to women that are low income. So the whole argument that if you don't like Planned Parenthood, you are going against women that are low income, that's not true at all. There are so many. I would never recommend any friend of mine step foot in a Planned Parenthood. I just don't like them. And I don't even know why sometimes I don't like them. I just don't like them. I don't have a good feeling about them. Anyway, thank you all very much. I'll see you later and I'll be here again tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. And thank you again. That was really fun. I'll see you later. Thank you, Glenn. See you later.